Good morning, my friends. Another installment of the Fat Man GM's revisitation of Iron Crown Enterprises Middle Earth role-playing game system, which initially started out in the early 80s, ran to the mid 90s, and then went out of business. Sad, shame thing for that, but it is what it is. The current installment is called Phantom of the Northern Marches. It's another traditional module set. It's set in the Iron Crown style of creating these things, but it's still just a carbon copy of 100 other modules I've seen for Dungeons and Dragons or similar type game systems, which is it serves its purpose. I mean, it is what it is. There's three key adventures in here. The first one is set for first to second level characters, beginning inexperienced players, that sort of thing. Then the second one is more for three to fourth level characters with a little bit more experience, and then the third one is fifth to sixth level. So you can either play them in sequence if your characters are developed fast enough in experience points, modify it, of course, if you will, or you can break it up and play it over time. It's like everything, most modules, it's place sensitive, so it's set in a specific location tied to certain circumstances. In the particular Phantom of the Marshes, or the Northern Marches, it is located in the northern section of Ardor, not quite as far north as the Witch King of Agmar, but it is on the northern border, hence the Marches term, of Radur and Arthedain. So it's a small but moderately prosperous town that serves as the central hub for the neighboring surrounding terrain and territory and stuff. The character in the first adventure is basically a young woman who, in her mind, she's uh, developed over her lifetime the ability to use magic, although it's considered other things by the locals. And she originally comes under the tutelage of the local priest named Whitbert, and she's which he moves too slow for her taste. We hear this typical tale over and over again. She goes out and starts wandering further and further away from the town. Eventually encounters a Dunman. I don't want to call him a sorcerer. They referring to as something close to that. She encountered Ferdin, a Mahaji, yeah, of the Dunman, a sorcerer. He taught her the darker arts, and for her friendship and leadership to him, she was eventually rewarded with a talisman, its provenance unknown. It's connected to Agmar, of course, and through the Witch King's Surat. So she's falling to the dark side. And the local priest Wartburg catches into that, and she's banished from the town. She sets up she disappears for a while, and then she comes back, sets herself up in a treehouse someplace nearby, and starts messing with the locals. This is where the players step in to try to discover the Phantom and what the Phantom's doing, so on and so forth. So Hanny the Witch, as they call it, which it's a ubiquitous term in this particular game system because the priests, the wizards, the shamans all kind of blend together a little bit in Middle Earth because they don't have any established, in the West, they don't have any established religions. In the East, they do have established religions, but the lion's share of them just paying homage to Sauron or Morgoth because I don't know. You have to go. I have theories on it, but I'm not going to get into it here. And your typical nice pictures and maps and the sort of stuff you'd expect to find in an Iron Crown module. NPCs, all useful for more than just this particular module setting. Like I've said, as a lazy GM, I have tapped into these things for a lot of stuff over the years for different games, just for filler or for ad hoc from the hip play, one night sessions with some friends, what have you, so on. So part two is the riddle of Radartho. Radartho is a stone giant. Right? Okay. Now, traditionally speaking, in Middle Earth, you don't use giants to the extensive degree that we do in a lot of other role-playing game systems. They're rare, and they're huge, right? And there's not as large variety. There's nowhere near the variety that you would see in Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder or whatever your current particular fan fave is at this moment. Another distinctive thing is in the movies, Peter Jackson created stone giants or mountain giants, and they look like huge chunks of the mountain, right? Very rugged, ragged stone creatures. And I don't know. My opinion is that Jackson's probably closer to what Tolkien imagined these things to be than what our fellow game creators back in the day turned them into, because most of the giants that we know are basically oversized humans. If you think about it, you can call them monsters, whatever you want, but in all intents and purposes, it's just the Jolly Green Giant kind of philosophy. It's just an oversized human of a very primitive tribe. So you can make all your arguments all you want on that. I think that's probably true, close to the mark as it is. So in the games, this is before they started, in the videos came out. But you've got these huge, traditional human-looking giants, which are from mythology. That's where Tolkien got most of his stuff from anyway. And he was looking at the Norse mythologies and the Greek mythologies and so on and so forth. And then what are they? The lion's share of these things have human properties. It's the same reason why the gods and goddesses have human properties for the majority. And there's always exceptions to the rule. Excuse me, always exceptions to the rule, but for the majority, okay? Basically, in this case, you got a somewhat friendly giant who's gotten bored of living up in the hills with his buddies in the mountains, has come down into the plains, or what constitutes the lower hills and stuff of northern Radur and in the western Moors, I think, and starts mucking around. First, traditionally, a giant will eat pretty much anything they can get their hands on. If they can catch it, they eat it, including people. Even if they're a friendly giant, they get hungry. What are you going to do? So it says, starts out with a local farmer gets up and goes out and discovers these meter-long, these yard-long footprints and some of his livestock missing, which step in the characters who just track this, probably not overly difficult to follow the trail back to the giant's lair and then have it out with them. Whether or not you do so with the end of the blade or with the tip of the tongue, I guess it depends on the players, right? But you got your traditional, and they throw in some NPCs and stuff, both good and bad, to help out and or to hinder. For example, Sibrak is a minor Danish agent and spy for the Witch King of Angmar, and is often listed to aid the King of Angmar, who now serves as the evil master. Sibrak's main activities include information gathering, blah, blah, blah. He's tapped to help the group, supposedly, a couple others to go hunt down and deal with this rogue giant, and probably has other ideas in mind. Here, this is the nice fellow. Notice this little shuriken looking like blade. Isn't that interesting? I'm just saying. Okay. So you got your traditional hunt down the damn giant and deal with the problem. Not a big deal. And then we get on to the third adventure, Gersbane. This adventure is set, like the others, in the environments of Nothva Raglaw, the sections blah blah blah, the northern Radur, blah blah blah. Travelers go north from Nothva Raglaw, which is the town, must be both brave and strong, for they will encounter ever steeper hills, ever more hostile inhabitants until they reach the Entmoors and the jagged peaks of the northern misty mountains. Here dwell, for the most part, only the cruelest and toughest creatures. Blah blah blah. It's your traditional dragon hunt, but he's a drake, not a dragon, which means he's got legs and no wings. And they got a nice mugging picture there for you to look at. And, in this case, he's fairly young and inexperienced dragon, yet he is no less a formidable foe. He's 90 feet young. He's a tough hombre to deal with. Practically, the only way to kill Arabic is through a lucky critical strike. He can dish out a massive amount of damage to anyone who comes near him. Species should think of only approaching him when they have the large amount of protection from his breath weapon and a powerful offense, such as the Gerst Brock, the giant, or the dragon blade, or whatever. Something that kills dragons. Traditional story, traditional encounter, which doesn't always have to end in bloodshed. Case in point, Bilbo's little conversation with Smaug. Although we will acknowledge it did not end well for everybody, including Smaug, it did help Frodo. He managed to not die and get roasted or eaten or whatever. So, good little module. Nice to have. One of another 100 similar types of modules. Not very overly inspiring, as in giving you good information or new stuff about the region that this is set in, but like I said before, Iron Crown, at some point the writers and stuff it was a matter of churning out material to keep the brand going. They fall into the same, let's make a bunch of modules, and we simplified them so they're just the traditional module style. They don't have that additional source back material that you find in a lot of the other material books that they put out in their earlier modules. I think earlier modules were better. That's just my opinion. Till the next one.